like a sex machine, man. Moving, doing it, you know. Can I count it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Get on up, get up, get on up, get up, get on up, get up, get on up. They on the scene, get on up, like a sex machine. Get on up, get up, get on up, get up, get on up. They on the scene, get on up, like a sex machine. Get on up, wait a minute, shake your money maker, shake your money maker. Wait a minute, shake your money maker, shake your money maker. Is that a feeling? You got to get that. You give a fever and a cold sweat. The way I like it is the way it is. I got mine. Don't worry about his. Should I take him to the bridge? Go ahead. Take him on to the bridge. Should I take him to the bridge? Take him to the bridge. Shake your money maker. Shake your money maker. Shake your money maker. Shake your money maker. Stay on the street. Get on up like a sex machine. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. Stay on the street. Get on up like a sex machine. Get on up. The way I like it is the way it is. I got mine. He got his. Come on. You got his. Shoot your clothes. Get together. Right on time. Can we hear that one more time? One more time. Let's hit it and quit. Can we hit it and quit? Can we hit it and quit? Can we hit it and quit? Hit it. Get up. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. They on the scene. Get on up like a sex machine. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. They on the scene. Get on up like a sex machine. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. They on the scene. Get on up like a sex machine. Get on up. Shake your money maker. Shake your money maker. Shake your money maker. Shake your money maker. Get up. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. They on the scene. Get on up like a sex machine. Get on up. Get up. Get on up. Get up. Get on up.
I ask you because you may not know.
Take me to the bridge.
What the fuck is wrong? Who is that guy? Listen, if you can hear my voice right now, if you're within the sound of my voice, we may actually have an opportunity to stop the mental slavery. As far as I know, right now, we do have the opportunity.
Emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
It's possible. The moon has aligned with the sun, and we are in fact inside the devil's dungeon, inside of DC where we are. The Masonic grid, their evil network. We're inside the matrix.
Like we're in the focus when cosmic stuff goes down.
Yeah. We're in, and exactly, when we light it up in positivity, we break it down. We melt the ice crystal.
Break it down.
We break it down with the positive. And right now, Cannabis Community, if you're within the sound of my voice, only you can stop the fucking mental slavery this people, this time we have.
And Comey, in his book called This Administration a Forest Fire, so only you can prevent forest fire in the White House.
You know, I can't hate on Trump. I don't like him. I'd like to actually take him on and bring him some cannabis. I'd like to have
It'd be a total waste of time.
You know,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to talk about that. Do you think even Trump is beyond hope?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is the power of the plant compels him to let go of the devils that are inside him?
No.
Is he too far gone over to racism?
He was
hate?
born gone.
He's born gone.
He was born gone. He came. He is Wreck-It Ralph. He is Wreck-It Ralph.
Can interject.
Sad to me. It's sad to me that we cannot pray for enemies. It's
we
true.
can't. But that's a
They
conceit.
will destroy themselves with love.
There's a conceit that as liberals, as people who are not, we're supposed to be forgiving, we're supposed to be compassionate, we're supposed to be the ones
To love
to,
you. I
to
hear
hold
you.
out the olive branch.
Somehow you
Meanwhile,
consider yourself
these,
better than
these
others.
buttheads are walking around with flamethrowers and crisping
Right,
us,
right.
and we're just supposed to be cool. Well, that's not how you win a thing. That's not how you win a thing.
If you can hear the sound of my voice, only cannabis can really be the truth and reconciliation that this broken society is depending on us for, wants so desperately. Jacob, bring me back to the MP3, to the next slide. What do we got? Yeah. Give me the 1985 one.
Take him to the bridge.
Yeah, take it to the bridge.
From 1985, the United States had the highest labor cost in the world, which you'd expect in the richest society in the world. It should have much higher ones, in fact. But in 1985, as you expect, it would have the highest labor cost per unit output in the world. And in 1992, it was second lowest in the industrial world. Actually, in 1990, it was lowest of any country. But then Thatcher succeeded in smashing down the workforce in England even better than the Reaganites here, so the United States slipped back into second place in the competition to see who could harm working people more. So from 1985 to 1992, the United States went from highest labor cost to second lowest in the industrial world, and this was described by the Wall Street Journal as a welcome development of transcendent importance, as it is for their constituency. The business press, the rest of the business press describes other factors that are involved in this welcome development. The Financial Times of London, which is the big international business daily, they had an article about the same time about what was going on in Eastern Europe, and they described it as a horrible mess. Everything was awful, but the headline said that there's some hope. The headline was "Green Shoots in Communism's Ruin," meaning pretty bad, but there's some green shoots there, so some good things. The green shoots are what they described as the rising unemployment and pauperization of industrial workers under the reforms that the West is now imposing. And those are green shoots because it means that you can get workers in Poland, say, for 10% of the wages of the pampered Western workers. And as Business Week chimed in to say, that means it's a way to drive, it's another way along with Mexico and Indonesia and so on. There's another tool now to force Western workers to abandon what Business Week calls their luxurious lifestyle. From 1985, the United States had the highest labor cost in the world, which you'd expect in the richest society.
Right on, Cannabis Community. I got John Hong. Dude, you all on Instagram? You want to say where you are so people follow you?
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm JW Holland 420 Smoked Out.
This guy.
There's a lot to say.
This guy, follow this guy on Instagram. If you want to know what's going
you
on
want.
the cultural stuff, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
For real.
I've just recently went to Amsterdam, the area.
Yeah.
I've been to the Amsterdam conferences a couple times.
Yeah.
I just purveyor of cannabis, and I'm interested in the laws.
Dude,
Talking
yeah.
about the medical parts of it.
Yeah, and the stuff that you post, I mean, it's
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. The stuff you
Trying
post.
to get my voice
I know.
close enough.
It's a skill
Get
unto
intimate
itself.
with
not
it.
lean forward to be so.
I know.
I'll
I
try to
hear you.
lean forward.
A little bit, you have to.
Yeah.
I know, it's the nature of the
Come
beast.
into the light.
Yeah,
you know?
come into the light,
Yes,
John. Your
yeah.
stuff is so good, you got to put your light on the lampstand.
Yeah.
Right?
Trying to.
Well, I like the fact that you joined us tonight, and I want you to chime in as you see fit, because,
Yeah.
right, we're talking about the cannabis community right now. Which one of the cannabis community here ordered the war, right? The Trump wars. Which
Nobody.
did anyone here order? Did you
Nobody
hear about
here.
this?
Nobody
the
here.
wars.
Nobody
Anybody?
here.
You know anybody asked for war? You know anybody who's gunning for war right now?
Oh, no.
No, nobody. I don't know anybody. No. Right. All of a sudden, though.
Oh, we're talking about Syria.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The real thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know.
All right. Well,
Right.
the people that are gunning for war are the people that make the weapons.
Right.
So
Well, and the ones that need to improve their popularity in the polls.
Right,
and,
right, exactly. Distract the people.
And in their own self-esteem. Because
Military-industrial complex.
What the fuck is that, right?
Yep.
Well, it's the politicians feed the monster, and the monster feeds the politicians.
Right.
You know, so we kill people across the world just so we can make more money, you know, in our own countries. We have Northrop Grumman, we have, some more defense contractors.
Boeing.
There's,
Oh,
a
yeah,
couple
yeah,
others.
absolutely, all
They're
of them.
designing death machines for the future. You
Right.
know, why do we want a future where we can just point someone out and say, hey, that guy his life needs to be over, and we're gonna do it. And if we have to blow up a whole village,
headed this
if we
way.
blow up a whole village, we don't care.
That's what I like talking about cannabis community.
That's what's been happening. I mean,
Only the cannabis community talks about this depth. And I'm telling for real, who wants a society like that? Can you
Yeah.
imagine? Like, our
And-
grandparents had to do that. They went to engineering jobs. They grew up like near Pratt Whitney.
yeah, it's practically
Yeah.
put on us.
Yeah.
You know, so we can humanize it for ourselves. You know,
Right.
The war on terror is a war on humanity.
War on humanity for what reason? So that we can make jobs at home making stupid weapons?
Yeah.
Right, for no reason. Right. One of the things I'm telling, I ask you for sure, do you think it's true that, right, like back in the day, our grandparents had to go work at the war production plant to make fucking bombs to fucking bomb Nazis or fucking what they thought was, right? Do you think
World
that,
War II never ended?
right,
you know?
it never did. Not as an economic system.
Yeah,
Right, but do you see cannabis community people being able to do that, go and work at these jobs and make killer bombs and be able to get high in their own lives? Do you think it's possible?
Make bongs, not war.
I don't know. If you have made your fortune already on, you know, death showers, I think it's over for you. You know,
Yeah.
In this cycle.
Yeah,
you
in
know,
this karmic cycle, I hear that.
I believe that there's nothing's ever over, but you know, it's
But you
it's
indeed.
we're all here in the now, right? And
Right,
so
right.
the only thing we can do is either stop ourselves from doing the wrong thing or do the right thing. You know?
Well, cannabis community, that's exactly, you feel the liberty of that, right? That you got to do the right thing because you feel it. When cannabis, something about the higher self, when we merge with the higher self, I can't go make bombs and actually get high. Something about it, right? It's
that to be willing and open and have like, because you know the whole thing where we separate liberal and conservative in America is so weird. Because I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of conservatives that are against war and everything like that.
Right, yeah, lots.
The Rand Paul crowd, or
Sure,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
a lot of libertarians.
Whatever you want to call it, and I mean, they also more tend to like cannabis. And
absolutely.
so-
Libertarians are like Republicans with the
Right.
ball.
Yeah, so I think you know there is room in the world for the you know the moderate. You know we have to do politics in moderation. You know?
It would be a worthwhile thing if we could weaponize, and this is not to kill people with it, but if you could, instead of tear gas, love gas.
Well,
That
You know,
love gas is called gas.
form of-
That
a
is
form
called
of-
there
cannabis.
shouldn't be
A form of
circumstances.
THC that if you drop it in a crowd, everybody starts dancing to the Grateful
let's
Dead,
take-
whether the Grateful Dead is playing or
We-
not.
we
That's
get
called
it.
legalization, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's what we're here for.
In a perfect world, it'll be amazing. But
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
what we have, you know, a couple years ago, even we had riots in Baltimore and riots in a couple other cities. And, you know, there shouldn't be circumstances in our society that are causing people to want to like just
Right.
destroy shit. You know.
Oh, I dig it,
You
John.
know, and it's every day is now.
That's what the Physician for the People is
Right.
about, right? You know, I am sick of
day
telling
is
people how to
potential
make their diet
good
better
shot.
when they don't want to have social justice,
Yeah.
right? Because it sticks in your stomach
Yeah.
when you see poverty like that. When you
Well,
do
it's
nothing
like-
but poverty and you have to stick your head up your own ass to get by, right? It kills you inside, and there's no vitamin for that.
And
real.
you know, somehow we've been, put back into this situation where there's like a latent segregation of
Right.
the whole country.
It's a class war. It's a
and-
class
and
war for it all
Specifically, there's a commercial on right now.
Yeah.
And it's for computer, for backboning your business with a computer. And it opens up a guy with dreads, a white guy with dreads, and a Bolivian t-shirt, Bolivian sweatshirt with the hood, is carrying a desktop into somebody's business. And the voiceover says, do you know where your computer is coming from? And then they cut to these really buttoned down, very, very neat and clean, short cropped hair fellas, and this is where your computer needs to come from. Classism, huge, freaking huge,
Yes.
just disgusting.
Yeah, unfortunately, America is that potent, vicious cycle of class and race, freaking
Well-
used at their worst.
Well, and I think they're being subtle, and it's really, It just grieves,
Right.
grieves me.
See,
You gotta think about the psychology of those marketing teams.
Oh yeah,
right.
right wing as hell.
Wow.
So let me ask you this, Ghost. Let me ask you this, Dick Cheney Dick.
Yes.
Look it. If people deep down inside don't know what's going on, if their sense of their unknown gets so overwhelming that they can't feel comfortable in their own skin, do you think that they act out?
Yes.
In other words, can you confuse people into violence?
Yes. And it's a proven formula.
Is that what they're doing to us?
It's how the right has been operating
Is that
forever.
what they're fucking doing to us? They're
Yeah.
sending us to war.
You
Syria
make
by
people
confusing us.
unhappy, and then you tell them why they're unhappy.
on
Especially
telling.
if they don't know, you give them a reason
fuck?
for their being unhappy, and then you.
So is the
fi-
government
you
in charge of
find a
making us unhappy?
scapegoat, and then you turn them loose.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you just have like I was trying to say this, like we get separated into camps.
Yeah.
Where it's the liberals versus the conservatives.
Yep.
Where really we're trying to get these same basic goals of being able to fucking survive without being forced into a military or forced into a system that is killing people, that is taking advantage of the entire world's constant conflicts. You know, to be able to separate from that, people have to localize and create communities of support. with
Well,
each
let me
other
ask you,
that
John. John, how do you
are
do that?
immune to government.
No, how do we do that? That's
How do you
it
do that?
sounds.
You-
Look, it's like
you
me saying
start
like I
small.
want. Yeah, it's very hard. Start community is one of the hardest
Yeah.
things, and I'm not busting your stones. I'm like, okay, no, I want to stop you right there. Let's
It's
do
an
that.
uphill climb,
Let's do that.
and you're coming from in a place that's been made behind because they have equated this whole success thing with having to be conservative in order to be
that's
successful
actually
or
well put.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
Well,
That's well put.
And that has to be unwired. That has to be deprogrammed.
that's
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
how we do it, but we
appearances.
need to
It's
do
a
it.
lot of appearance,
Yeah.
appearance bullshit.
Sure.
And I don't know. We have to not judge people by the their thread of their clothes.
Of course.
Right on. If we're gonna judge, don't judge. We have to respect.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing. We're gonna judge, so let's judge on the side of respect.
Yeah, you
If
can
we
tell
are-
people, I don't judge, but
No, you do.
You have an automatic.
You have to.
You
It's
have an
instinctual.
automatic judgment of every person you ever meet because that's your reflex.
Yeah,
That's how you,
bingo. Well put. A mature person knows they're fucking judging. So
Yeah.
then let's judge with respect. I respect that. All right? Let's respect each other. All right, Jacob, I'm taking us out to the war, to the brainwash reverse. There's still time. There's still time to make things right. All right, I know we can get it done. John, stick with us one more. Stick us with the next bit. Sit down, all right? We're going to talk one more time.
Yeah. I was just,
Right on. All right.
That's the way you turn people into automata. You control them, separate them from one another, drive any human instinct out of their heads, make them see themselves as nothing in life except adding to my useless commodities. And I don't care about anybody else because you're not supposed to care. If you can get to that point, then you really have people under control. You don't need security forces. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of privilege and freedom, just incomparable. There's nothing in the world like it. The question is, do we want to use it? I mean, they can act to a certain extent. They cannot counteract organized, active public opinion. I mean, you can't even do that in a dictatorship. That's almost impossible in a more free society. That's why there's so much propaganda, to try to prevent people from using the power that they have, either by marginalizing them or isolating them or making them passive consumers or making them feel hopeless or whatever. A huge amount of effort goes into that. Probably $1 trillion a year goes into marketing, which is mostly just attitude control. Try to make people passive consumers who don't do anything. But they don't have to agree to that. You can change it. First of all, it's all reversible. I mean, the means of controlling people by violence have mostly disappeared in countries like the United States. In fact, if you look at the history of propaganda, it was developing precisely out of a very conscious understanding on the part of privileged sectors, elites, that they were losing the capacity to control the population by force. Just people had won too much freedom. They wouldn't submit to force, couldn't do it. So therefore you had to control attitudes and opinions. And the way you do that is in part by indoctrination in the school system and the news and that sort of thing. But in large part, the way of controlling opinions and attitudes was understood right away to be inducing hopelessness, making people feel helpless, and isolated, separate from one another, make sure they don't interact. Unlike the ideal society would be based on dyad, you and the two, but no further interaction among people, because that's dangerous. And a lot of what's been going on over the last century, and is going on right at this moment, is about that, because it is understood that things like Medicare, Social Security, schools, other such things are based on an unacceptable principle that has to be driven out of people's minds. It's the principle that you're supposed to care about somebody else. Okay? That you're supposed to care as a member of a democratic community. You're supposed to care whether the widow on the other side of town starves. And you've got to drive that out of people's heads. Because if people have those ideas, they might act on them. And if they act on them, they're going to dismantle the whole system of domination and control. So those ideas have to be driven out of people's heads. They have to be made to believe that their entire worth depends on their own consumption of useless commodities. I mean, that's the way you turn people into automata. You control them. Separate them from one another, drive any human instinct out of their heads, make them see themselves as nothing in life except adding to my useless commodity. And I don't care about anybody else because you're not supposed to care. If you can get to that point, then you really have people under control. You don't need security forces. And that has been a major effort for the past century. It gets more and more sophisticated, more and more money goes into it all the time. Those are techniques of control, but you don't have to submit to them. They're very fragile systems. I mean, if people are unwilling to submit to them, they just go away. It's not like the security forces in a totalitarian state who don't go away. They go away. They persist only because people subordinate themselves to them, which means that there's a lot of opportunity and hope for change, but it's all reversible.
Well, the Jamaican Ministry of Health is warning Jamaicans this week to stay away from weed and ganja that's over 5% THC.
And what kind of meter do we use to determine that?
Right. God bless the Jamaicans.
Do they even have testing?
Oh, they're just wanting to get. No, they don't care. Yeah. Right. They're just trying to suck the ass of the United States.
What did they start medical?
Oh, they just did start medical this month in March in Jamaica. Yeah, they opened up a dispensary there.
Well, yeah. But they're still trying to make a system for oppressing people that they don't approve of.
But terrible.
Medical terrible weed.
Yeah.
Right. But only 5% THC.
Yeah.
Right. So that way you have to buy a lot of it.
And that sounds like it's going to fund a black market.
It's going to be exactly the way to keep the black market going, the illegal market going. Right. We were talking about how the United States drug laws keep people I think they're sort of stuck in a spot though. Yeah, they can't have full legalization because they're the United States.
Yeah, and the way the
neighbors.
I mean.
And we need to call it something other than the black market. Because that's pejorative, and we got to get out of that. It should be the underground. It should be the resistance. It should be
illegal market. Yeah.
Let's just go back to like 1984. Where we just prosecuted any drug dealer we could get. Yeah. Fed the prison populations. Yeah.
Right.
So they want to return. Jeff Sessions wants to bring that back. Do they even have the money for that?
Right. No, America's bankrupt.
Does the DEA want to do that? I don't even know anymore.
He's a stockholder. He's a stockholder in for-profit prisons. So it's good business for him to advocate that position.
He's trying to fund his own system.
Yeah,
and so
he wants to fill that place up
back in time.
Yeah, you got it.
It's like.
Yeah, you got it. Now the system is looking for a way to get the private prisons to pay for themselves, just like the way that the British. They paid off, I don't know if you know, they announced it in February. The British just finished paying off a 150-year note for paying back reparations for slavery in Jamaica. But reparations to the slaveholders.
Yeah.
So British taxpayers have been paying it back an equivalent of $400 billion.
Yeah.
Right? Over about 150 years. And the purpose is to say that after that, the slaves had to buy their own freedom. Right. Now, this is what
indentured servitude, and
Indentured servitude.
usually run pretty much the same. We run interest on college loans.
Bingo.
You never pay them off.
And that's where they got the idea for the private prisons, y'all. And
That's
where,
the IMF.
And that's the IMF.
Oh,
right?
baby.
Right.
Gotta love them.
That's where we got to go with this debt forgiveness.
The international Ponzi scheme.
Rich
International
European
Ponzi scheme,
white
brilliant.
guys moving chess pieces around the
Right.
world.
Like, check this stuff out. Right. Not only did the apprentices, the former slaves, had to buy themselves their freedom by working for free at their former jobs for 12 years. Right. Only
I
because
owe
the
my
British found it
soul
so
to the company's stove.
Right. British found it so expensive they cut it down to 4, right? But the apprentice slaves had to pay for their own incarceration, and that's the system of the private. Right now, dig this: the reparations went to the rich families, right, not to the slaves themselves. The rich families like David Cameron.
People who already have
Cameron,
money.
who had money, the rich get richer. Now
Of
Cameron's
course.
in charge of the actual statement back to Jamaica in 2015. He goes down there and listen to this. He goes, I would like to actually move on from this painful legacy and continue to build for the future, but not address the crimes, not actually talk to the people, not about actually forgiving the debt. Like now that we could move on because we
can move on.
Right, we can
People
move
are
on.
constantly moving on.
No, the British need to pay.
We're not going to pay the people whose ancestors were slaves, but we're still going to pat ourselves on the back.
Right.
Yep.
That's it.
We want to
It's-
dissolve the bitter pill.
It's a win-win for them.
Of
We're
slavery.
moving money around so it looks like something's going on.
Right.
It's insane.
And I recommend, if you want to get the story on this, it's in The Guardian this weekend. It's called The Long Read. If you guys really want to follow up on reparations in Jamaica, all right? This is not rocket science, y'all. The Guardian, UK. This is the Friday, the 13th edition. You pick it up. You're going to find it.
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You're going to pick that up. Jacob, take us to the next
Gotta start somewhere, baby.
video. We're going to kick it to another one, all right? Because we got to talk about teen cannabis use. Guess what it's doing? It's going down, y'all. Legal cannabis makes kids stop puffing. All right, next one, yo.
Poverty and suffering throughout the world. The unions tried to combat it, but they couldn't even come close. The concentration of capital was so enormous that it wasn't even a battle. This picked up again in the 1970s. It's another upsurge. Foundations trying to take over the educational institutions, Olin professorships of free enterprise and glossy right-wing student magazines, very well funded all over the place, and so on and so forth. It's had an effect. The effect has been to pretty much demolish civil society, to turn people into what is the ideal. Now, the ideal is very clear. The ideal is a completely fragmented, atomized society where everyone's totally alone, doing nothing but trying to pursue created wants, and the wants are created. It's known that they're created. Nobody wants those things. You create wants. People are stuck with their television set or their interactive, whatever it is, and they're glued to this thing, and they're told what they want, and they have to want it. They don't have any connection with anyone else. You don't see anybody else. You don't deal with anyone else. You're an atom of consumption. And you go to work at lower and lower wages for more and more hours and less benefits and security in a flexible labor market. That's the kind of utopia that they're looking for, and it's not very far from there. It's led to very strange effects in the country. I mean, the country is like a devastated peasant society. You really have to go back to Europe and the Black Death, I think, 14th century to find anything similar. People are scared, angry, hostile, hate everything, don't know what they hate, don't have anybody else to talk to, just angry, desperate. There are cults all over the place at a scale that is unknown in any other society. I mean, you have to, the level of religious fundamentalism alone is probably the highest in the world. I'm almost certain higher than Iran. And that's only one of them. The people, right now the militias happen to be on the front pages, but that's just a tiny fragment of it, and which is only not the right. The left is the same. It's across the board. It's just a dissolved society, very scary. It's the portent is ominous. It's the kind of a situation, and it's a kind of a situation which is indeed reminiscent of Germany in the late 30s in a lot of ways, or Iran in the late 70s. Very frightening. It's much more frightening when it happens here.
Cannabis Community. As legalization sweeps the nation, teen underage cannabis use goes down, way down. Motherfucker. Right, the prohibition's telling us for years that if you legalize weed, tell them the kids the truth. Oh, they're sparking up in their mother's fucking bathroom, right? All right, what happens? Tell the kids the truth, they fucking normalize. They're like, oh, okay. Right? That's what we want to hear. That's what we want. The truth sets you fucking free.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids fucking toking weed. No, it's for meditation, medication, God forbid. Right? You could be an old man like me? Yes. You get fucking headaches? Yes. Fucking get stressed out? Yes. You can fucking puff. But it's not for fucking fun. I don't want to hear about it.
It's all medicine.
It's all medicine. God bless, it's all medicine. Right? But you mix it, I owned a bar. You mix up fucking beers, it will get you fucking stoneder. It'll make you drunker.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you've seen the data out of New Zealand where they do the driving test, the inebriation test.
Oh,
yeah. It shows that fucking cannabis by itself does not impair driving whatsoever. Right? But it multiplies the impairment of alcohol.
Yeah. And benzos.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
and you know, I think they try to have a mixed signal with it.
Yeah.
That, you know, somehow legalization is going to make cannabis run wild. You know,
Right,
that everyone, that society will be destroyed by the evils of cannabis.
Well put.
You know, going back 80 some fucking years.
Right, they're trying to do that reefer madness. Oh, God bless. Once the kids start smoking the reefer, they're
it's
humping
like
the
they're
fucking
straight
furniture.
out of a fucking time portal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what the hell are they talking?
What the hell are they talking? Who does that?
Where
But
is Jeff
just
Sessions
this week,
getting his
former
information?
Speaker of the House, John Boehner, is now a marijuana capitalist.
Oh, coming up. That's next.
Okay,
Right? That's
sorry,
next.
I didn't mean to jump.
Well-
No, sorry. I
It's
jumped.
You're not in trouble,
I jumped a
Ghost.
bit.
You are a ghost.
I jumped the groove.
jumped
Well,
the groove. It's okay.
We
It's
have
okay.
premonition.
Incredible.
Boo!
Right, but
Boo!
listen, here's the thing. Right, the thing that teen cannabis use is down, but actually adult use is up. That's the other thing. It is taking money out of the fucking alcohol.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a definite replacement for self-abuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gentleman
Right,
Jack is likely to be less of a gentleman.
Right on. Right, Jacob, bring us to the next fucker. Bring us to the fucking Secret Wars.
Secret
Right, hell yeah,
Wars.
Secret Wars.
Secret
Fucking the
Wars.
government. Dead.
Get
the
down.
population is out of control and propaganda doesn't work, then the state is forced underground to clandestine operations and secret wars. In the dependencies, we may turn to violence to restore democracy. At home, more subtle means are required. The manufacture of consent, deceiving the stupid masses with necessary illusions, covert operations, while the media and Congress pretend not to see until it all becomes too obvious to be suppressed. At that point, we shift to the phase of damage control to ensure that public attention is diverted to overzealous patriots or personality defects of leaders. The general conception is that leaders control us, not that we control them. If the population is out of control and propaganda doesn't work, then the state is forced underground to clandestine operations and secret wars. If the
When white men can't jumpstart real jobs, they continue to grift and trap on the plant. John Boehner goes to work for fucking Acreage Medical Cannabis. Listen to this fucker. Look at him. John Boehner over here. He's toking the fucking weed. Now,
Well, and his liver is
Just
probably
growing it.
checking
Just
out, so
growing
it's he needs to have an alternate buzz.
listen, I'll tell you what, though. Boehner said the right thing. He didn't say reschedule it. He said deschedule it.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
that's the magic word.
Get it
It's
off
an
of the
herbal
list.
fucking
Get
supplement.
it
Yeah,
off of the
absolutely.
list.
Come on.
No. Listen,
It's
if you
oils and botanicals. What the
Yep.
fuck are they doing?
Yep.
if you're gonna hire a fucking whore, hire the best whore.
Well, yeah, if you're into all that.
If you're into whoring, right? I don't know. Babylon
But
seems to run on whores.
I'm not gonna put you down.
Yeah, oh,
What
yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
is, you know, there's no reason for this legal bullshit to continue.
Oh, absolutely.
It's you know,
Right,
a
you see
long
how the
time
sys-
overdue. you
Right.
know.
Yeah, the corruption is wrought to the core, but you still see it. They're
It's
still
high
stupid
time.
enough. They're stupid enough to sell it like that. That Boehner's, oh yeah, I changed my mind, but in 2015 I was still putting kids away for loose joints.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, that shit. Now we gotta look them straight in the eye and go, thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah.
May you be the spokesperson for medical cannabis and descheduling.
Yeah.
Well, now, I don't know if capitalism or hypercapitalism forces you to put a dick in your mouth, but John Boehner being the voice of fucking medical cannabis is like a dick in your mouth.
Sort of is.
It sort of is.
Sort of is.
Yeah, it sort of fucking sucks balls.
It's like you're drinking his bong water.
Boehner's bong water.
Boehner's bong water.
Do we want these guys to have the healing?
No, you know exactly. That's Dick Cheney's dick point over there.
Yes.
That's what he says. He says, no, I deny them cannabis. Let them fucking rot from the inside. The physician,
I'm not
on the
going to
other
say
hand.
either way. I'll stay neutral.
I'm like, no, let him live. Let him fucking, let's see if we can heal him.
The universe is indifferent, you know?
Right. Why should I be any different than indifferent?
No.
No?
Come on.
I don't know.
We all got to do something a little more than
I see your
just
point.
follow the leader, you know?
Well, you let me know. I don't want to follow the leader on that. I want to be an independent, right?
No one follow anyone.
No one follow anyone.
Yeah.
Exactly. Everyone be independent.
Yeah.
Start now.
Full independence.
Don't listen to what I say, but listen to what he says.
No.
Listen to what the voice inside of my head says, listen to what I say.
Oh, okay.
Oh, shit.
Oh, man. Now I just took you away from your whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible. It's okay. I'm in my own little world now.
We'll get back.
It's okay. They know me there.
Yeah.
It's okay. Hey, but listen,
he's used to being derailed.
Yeah. Well, that was back in the 80s when we did cocaine. Derails weren't so bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you what, then on the other side, Boehner, right, makes such a good stink out of going back to the cannabis. What happens? Ryan says, I'm quitting. Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan says, I'm quitting. Going to do something useful with my life.
Yeah. He's
Fucking
probably going to
Speaker of the
go
House
to work
says,
for
"I'm fucking
Boehner
quitting."
where the money is. You know, the pot futures are probably going through the roof right now. They're probably trading pot futures in Switzerland.
Right. This just in, Paul Ryan to John Boehner at Pot Firm.
Pot firm.
And here's the fucking kicker about Ryan quitting, right? The replacement for the Republican seat, right? The nominee is an avowed white supremacist.
Yeah.
Ah, what a guy.
That just blows my mind.
What a guy.
Right?
They're around.
Yeah, exactly. And if the Republican Party's running on this stuff and the Republicans are in charge.
Oh, and is he one of these guys? Let's kill the women that get abortions. You know, let's give them
No,
the
he's
death
one of these
penalty
guys that
because
said-
they got rid of a blast assist.
No. This is one of these guys that said Charlottesville was the protesters' fault. Right?
Yeah,
That's a sick thing to say.
the left side incited the right side.
kill
Yeah,
the
we
He's one of these-
non-believers.
Yeah, he's one of these.
we sent
guys.
them
Yeah.
postcards
They
and told them what we were doing. You know, come here and be a dick. you know?
666 for hate. Listen, can we love on the haters? Can we love on the white supremacists? I mean, if we puff and think about them, will they change? Is there any hope for them? Or are we as bad as they are? Do we have to hate them too?
We
No, I'm
don't
asking.
have to hate them, but the thing is, we should just ignore them. I mean, just keep them in the corner of your eye. Just make sure they aren't
That's
sneaking
true.
up and smacking you in the back of the head with a brick. But otherwise, don't even give them the time of day.
Yeah.
Don't
Right,
give them
there's something
any
to
of your
that.
consciousness if you can manage
There's
that.
something to that. Right, Chris Hedges says that we have to come to a point where we do not tolerate the intolerant.
That's right.
Right, we do not tolerate the intolerant.
Yeah, you
Right.
have to stand up if you see something.
This
you know?
guy,
And it's a fine line. We're being
Fuck
intolerant
those
Oh,
if we're
guys,
not
but don't
tolerating the
start
intolerant.
shit for no reason.
Yeah, fuck those guys, but don't start shit for no reason. Right,
That's
Ryan's
right.
replacement. Fuck this guy.
Nah.
Right, this guy's got to go. Jacob, right, bring me to the next video because I gotta go. I gotta go.
There has never been a medical reason for criminalizing marijuana. Marijuana was criminalized because it was associated with dangerous classes. Poor people drank it. Marijuana was criminalized because it was associated with poor people, dangerous classes. First criminalization of marijuana was in the Southwest. It was in New Mexico, later Utah, and so on, and it was specifically targeted against Mexico. Marijuana didn't get criminalized in the United States until shortly after Prohibition ended. After Prohibition ended, we had this huge Bureau of Narcotics and had to do something. So they discovered marijuana is going to do all kind of horrible things to you. The Senate testimony about this is mind-boggling. They did have a representative of the American Medical Association who said, we don't have any medical evidence about this. He was shut up, denounced, they got rid of him right away. Then they found somebody else, a pharmacologist, a guy teaching at Temple University, who was doing experiments with marijuana in dogs. They brought this guy in. He testified that when he gave marijuana to dogs, they went insane. Marijuana to dogs, they went insane. They do all kind of things. Some senator asked him, the guy, well, have you ever tried marijuana on humans? So he said, yeah, I tried it on myself. And he said, well, what happened? He said, I turned into a vulture. I started flying around the room. This stuff is terrible. It makes people insane. And marijuana, it was declared by Congress that marijuana makes people insane. But then something happened. It turned out that lawyers, defense lawyers, got the idea and used this for an insanity defense. So if a guy was found, who killed 3 cops, his lawyer would say, well, he he had marijuana before, so he was insane, so he can't do anything. And people were getting off on charges, like cop killing, for example, on the claim that they had marijuana. So all of a sudden it was discovered that marijuana doesn't make you insane. Congress decided, sorry, it doesn't make you insane, because we want to wipe that out. The next idea was marijuana is an entry drug. It's a drug you take and then you go on to something else. So there was never any evidence for that. But that was decided. And then in the early 50s, something else happened. Marijuana is being brought in here by red Chinese to poison the American population and destroy us. So therefore we got to stop marijuana. And it kind of goes on like this. Actually, the peak of marijuana use was, as I said, in the 70s. But that was rich kids, so you don't throw them in jail. And then it got seriously criminalized. You really throw people in jail for it when it was poor people. There has never been a medical reason for criminalizing marijuana. Marijuana was criminalized because it was associated with poor people, dangerous classes.
Denying medical cannabis to the elderly is a form of senior abuse, according to New Zealand officials.
Yep. Yay,
Right.
New Zealand, way to pioneer.
Yeah, exactly.
Good work. Good
Exactly.
work.
Right. If you do not give cannabis to the people, you're allowing the root cause of all disease to persist. Right? Absolutely. When the vampires want to drink our blood, in fact, we have a vampire on the line. I don't know if you can see this, but we actually caught one of these fuckers. Look at this fucker, right? This fucker wants to drink the blood of the cannabis community. I found out that they say that, in fact, the Kush-infused blood is the blood that they crave.
I can get that. I understand that.
Right. And that they're looking actually to find senior citizens in hospice care to have them smoke the cannabis plant on a daily basis and take transfusions out and give them to the vampire community.
Nice.
Cannabis community, we cannot let this happen. We need all the cannabinoids for ourselves and not for the vampires. Out, devil.
I like young blood anyways.
Young
Anyways,
blood.
I'm DC's own weed-smoking vampire, Vlad the Inhaler.
Vlad the Inhaler.
Vlad the Inhaler.
And I like to be blunt.
Vlad to
my
see
weed
ya.
smoke.
Unbelievable. They let you out of the fucking coffin. What do you smell? The power of the plant compels you, Vlad. Spill your guts and tell us
Did
why
hear
you torment
about
us.
Donald Trump's own personal weather report.
Oh.
Stormy with scattered golden showers.
Woo! Woo! Woo!
Trump watching two hookers pee is what he considers trickle-down economics.
Oh, vex me not, devil. What is it now? The cause of all human suffering comes from these devils. They keep the plant from us. Cannabis community. When you take the plant on and go to your high-mindedness, remember, right, there are devils everywhere. In the way that we get angry, the way that we get triggered, the way that we lack forgiveness for ourselves and for others.
That's right.
Right? It happens. I'm fucking hard on you. I'm hard on my friends. I'm hard on people I don't know. And I'm asking you right now, find that forgiveness. Find the high-mindedness that cannabis brings.
High-mindedness.
Right? Take on the devils. The power of the plant compels the devils to shrivel and get out of your way. Take your words of wisdom now, you
This
fucking
vampire
devil.
has some words of wisdom. I like to bite necks and make them bleed. But I also enjoy smoking weed. I am DC's own vampire, Vlad the Inhaler. If you like what I wear, I'll send you to my tailor.
Oh.
Vlad the Inhaler.
When John Boehner was Speaker of the House, he always acted like a dirty louse. But now he wants to redeem himself and succeed by getting involved in the business of weed.
Motherfucker.
Donald Trump has bitten off more than he could chew. Just a matter of time before he is through. If they release his tape with the hookers who took a leak, he will more than likely be up Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek for everyone.
Yep.
I'm leaving you with the Dick Cheney dick. He's live. I'm out. I gotta go. I gotta take on the Babylon effect and the mental slave of cannabis community. You do the same thing. The higher mindedness is your gift. What do you want? Ask now and find out. I'm out!
My mother, bless her soul.
So life is the only thing that
She's
can
still
talk,
with us,
so
but bless her
remember,
soul
life
anyway.
is yours
She
to
used
talk
to have a
about.
thing that she would say when she was exasperated with people, when she was finally at wit's end, when she had done everything she could to understand somebody and they were just beyond it. She used to say, so-and-so should just drop dead. Well, Cannabis Community, we ask you to be more decent and considerate than this. However, there are some people. How about Fox News? Fox News could drop dead. Drop dead, Fox News. Sean Hannity, specifically, drop dead.
All the humanity, Hannity.
President 45, drop dead. Leave us in peace. Leave us in peace instead of making the war that you want to wage to make you worthwhile. There's no making you worthwhile. Drop dead. Just go away. Leave us in peace.
Drop dead.
Peace is something to aspire to. Peace is the highest aspiration. But sometimes you got to get the warheads away. We have to deconstruct the warheads. Off with the warheads. Chop off the heads of the warheads. Make them go away. Leave us in peace. Leave us in peace. Leave us in peace. Cannabis Community, we're coming up on 420. Everybody have a blessed 420. May all of your ills be behind you on 420. Everybody salute. Everybody. Toke together. 420. Cheney out.
So life is the only thing that can talk, so remember, life is doing the talking, not a person or a personality or anything. So in all rankings, in all speech, in all language, there is no voice but mine, says life. They are my ministers to bring you unto myself in perfect surrender. Now, surrender doesn't mean to become an abject nothing. Surrender means that I have ceased to know what ought to be. Now, that's a pretty hard thing to give up, because we are experts in knowing what ought to be. I know how you ought to behave and how you ought to behave and how you should do everything and whatever. But, if that could be given up, it's called surrender, which means possibly the things that we feel we're most rich with is I know what ought to be. I know how you ought to behave. I know what you ought to do. I don't, but I don't even know what I ought to do. But let's say that we could give up thinking we know what ought to be, and we could live quite contentedly with what is. Now, when I compare what is with what I think it ought to be, what is comes out looking pretty shoddy. Is that right? And if I don't compare it to anything, I'm simply enjoying it. Isn't it utterly amazing? I work with a guy who says it's amazioni, that's what it is. So it's really amazing that we can walk and see and hear and touch and speak to each other and be aware of what's going on around us, and just simply being alive. That is very amazing.